of discussion with respect to a project that was an application submitted for affordable housing with the South Carolina State Housing Authority. And the purpose of kind of getting together tonight and calling a special call meeting, not the press, not the meeting here in front of Town Hall, but really to kind of give the opportunity for the public to come out, express their concerns, ask their questions. We'll have the developer here that will be able to address your questions and concerns. And I think that your participation here is representative of what you have in your heart, in your mind, and your concern for the town of Chapin. So I appreciate y'all being out here tonight. We'll make this a very positive experience for everybody. We'll have the opportunity to show all the people in Chapin and perhaps, the media of who we are and the professionalism, maturity we have here, and what our heart really says. So I want to just thank you for being here tonight, and I'll ask Representative Huggins to make a comment.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and certainly appreciate everyone here, Councilman Klontz and Councilman Hollis, and I know we've got a number of folks here that are representatives and certainly elected officials. I just appreciate everyone being here. I can tell you that this started about March the 8th. A letter was sent from a developer. We received that letter. We did send that to the council and to certainly the mayor. None of us really know exactly what was going to happen, what that was going to encompass. Since then, we have gotten a request from the South Carolina State Housing Authority for some federal tax credits. And I can tell you it concerns me very heavily when I see something like that, especially when you don't know exactly what the development is, and especially if you've got something when an area doesn't even have public transportation. I do not know how anything like that can be approved, and certainly do not support that. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Klontz. I think he might want to say a couple of words, or is it okay, Mr. DeParo? We'll just let him do that. But again, I want to thank everybody for being here. We certainly are thankful for the town of Chapin. We've all been here for a very long time, and we want to make sure that we want what's best for our community. With that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. DeParo.
If you weren't sure why conservatives always say we want lower taxes and less government, today's a great example of how more government leads to less freedom. Now we have an out-of-state developer in Atlanta, Georgia, applying for tax credits from Washington, D.C. to build an apartment complex here in downtown Chapin. If you ask local officials, what do you know about this plan? They say, I don't know. If you ask state officials, what do you know about this plan? They say, I don't know. If you ask your federal officials, what do you know about this plan? They say, I don't know. The system is designed so we don't have accountability, we don't have responsibility. Now I serve in the military in the Navy Reserve. You can go right to the top to a colonel or general and say, what's happening here? You'll have that accountability. If you go in the private sector to someone who's president or CEO and say, what's happening here? You'll have that accountability here. We don't have that accountability here, and it's not fair to taxpayers. Now we're so quick to pass a tax credit to a developer, but what about a tax cut to the taxpayer? We're trying to pass a statewide gas tax. We're trying to pass a sales tax here at the countywide level. What about the taxpayers here in Chapin? I think we need to have some accountability. We need to get more information before we rush through this project. And just a great example of how we need to make sure the saying that Ronald Reagan said so many years is still true. The people are not here to serve the government is here to serve the people. We've had some people here in Lexington County who've forgotten who they're supposed to serve, and it's the taxpayers of Chapin that should be served, not special interests, not developers. And that's why I decided to run for county council, whether it's a no-bid contract by county council, or whether it's a tax credit to a developer. We need to make sure we're fighting for the taxpayers, for the people of this community, and that's why I'm opposed to this project, and I hope to get more information tonight in the meeting.
Yes, and to piggyback on that, Chapin does not have the infrastructure for this. We don't have jobs. We don't have the type of jobs these tenants need. We do not have the public transportation. Our roads are in, the congestion of the roads is really bad. Our schools are overcrowded. We just do not have what the tenants need. We are 25 miles from Columbia. To get a taxi is $39 just to get to Irma. We cannot expect low-income tenants, and the application does say low-income housing tax credit application, by the way. Low-income tenants cannot afford $39 for taxis to go one way to Irmo to work. There are many, many issues we have with this. And these are the reasons why Chapin is not the proper spot for a low-income housing apartment complex.
If I might, I know we have a couple of other folks here that I know are running for office, and I know a couple of them might want to speak. I think Mr. Ron Derrick, Ms. Erin Long, would you like to maybe say a few words as well?
Hi, I'm Erin Long Ferguson, and I'm from Chapin. I grew up here, graduated from Chapin High School. I'm running for Lexington County Council as well, and I definitely don't think this is a good thing for Chapin. This is not, I don't think anyone here would say this is the vision of Chapin for us long term. So I think that's what we need to remember, is that let's keep our vision of Chapin in mind. And Lexington County, it's a great county to live in. A lot of people want to move here, but it doesn't mean that it's the right place for this kind of development.
Yes.
And, I'm Ron Derrick. I'm a lifelong resident of Chapin as well. It's a great place to live, and this troubles me that we have developers coming in wanting to provide this type of service without knowledge of the infrastructure. I've been here all my life, and a lot of the roads that I learned to drive on haven't changed. And it's time to think about the infrastructure and grow Chapin in the right way, and just plan it out instead of going at it in a haphazard way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to say a few words?
We'll have an opportunity also in the council meeting for public comment.
And I would like to say real quick, I want to thank the mayor for holding this meeting. It was announced very well. I hope we got good communication with that. I hope by the turnout that we see right now, how much we appreciate you holding this so that we can all hopefully understand what is going on and what we can do to help make this the right thing for Chapin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a presentation by the developer, Mr. Chase Northcutt, with Resource Housing Group, and with him this evening is Heather Dawn. We also have Mr. Don Henson, who is a resident of Irmo, and also is very familiar with that. What we'd like to try and do this evening is allow Mr. Northcutt to make a presentation. It's a PowerPoint, take about 15 minutes, explain his position on the development that he is interested in bringing to Chapin. And then what we'll do is have individuals who want to ask questions. We're going to limit your comments to 2 minutes. We'll also ask that you have one question to give everybody an opportunity to be able to speak. There won't be a follow-up question. So we'll hope to address all of these and be able to, clear the air and find out what this is all about. So I'm going to ask you to do this in a mature way and professional way, show our out-of-town guests that we are a community of character and that we can do this in a very respectful way. So, Mr. Northcutt, if you'd like to have this opportunity, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We're based out with Resource Housing Group. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We're an owner and developer of tax credit deals, affordable housing throughout the Southeast. We've been doing this for about 20 years now. Really just got started in South Carolina in the last 5 years. We've developed a project in Greenville, South Carolina. We've also developed one in Myrtle Beach, which is under construction right now. I've got a short presentation up here to I know there's been some misinformation going around out there. Hopefully we can answer all your questions, at least give you some of the facts from our standpoint. And like I said, we'll be happy to answer any questions, any concerns. We can go through this slideshow first, and then hopefully that'll answer some of those questions, and then just follow it up. Like I said, I just kind of went through this. We've got the 2 properties here in South Carolina that are new construction, and actually the Carolina Oaks property in Myrtle Beach, which is about 2 blocks from the beach, will be pretty much the same architectural style as what we're proposing in Chapin. So you've got, this is the, from an architectural standpoint, this is the type structure that we built in Greenville, South Carolina. As you can see, this is, you know, you've got a good bit of brick on the property. I know there's been some rumors floating around. We're looking to build Section 8 housing. This is not, I think most people relate Section 8 housing with public housing, the old public housing, brick structures, eightplexes, but this is a typical structure of a tax credit deal. You've got a clubhouse, you've got a playground. Obviously, the clubhouse is decorated extremely nice. You've got, this is the Myrtle Beach property we're doing. The program in South Carolina is pretty highly regulated. We're required to put 70% brick and 30% hardy plank. So from an architectural standpoint, the way the program works from a financing, there's enough dollars to build a market rate quality product. So there's no, as you can see, this is nothing like a Section 8 project or an old public housing properties. We're required to put a playground on every one of our family deals, and this is what we proposed in Myrtle Beach. This is the clubhouse, this is how it's decorated. These are the team members, or the proposed project team members. I know Sarah Neiman's been communicating with some of the folks here in the city. She's our consultant. Unfortunately, she was on vacation this week, so I got the honor of coming. Studio 8 Design, that's the group that designed Carolina Oaks. They're based out of Valdosta. They do market rate and tax credit architectural designs. The proposed contractor is Presswood Construction out of Atlanta. They've been fairly active in South Carolina developing and building, and actually they're building our Myrtle Beach property. The management company is Gateway Management Company out of Alabama. They're one of the top affordable housing management companies in the country. Randy Fleece has been managing a lot of our properties for about 15 years and has a long history and experience. And engineering firm is Site Design, based out of South Carolina, Greenville. Craig Winnall's our contact over there, and obviously Neiman Consulting, which is Sarah Neiman. She, like I said, unfortunately she wasn't here, and she's the one who's really been coordinating with the city, I guess, up until this point. Here is the site plan. As you can see, we're proposing the entrance off Virginia Street. It's 48 units, two 24-unit buildings with a clubhouse and a playground. This is an elevation from Studio 8 that obviously I said 70% brick, which is part of the scoring that's required for South Carolina at the state agency, 70% brick with the hardy plank. It's about a $7.5 million investment on between us and the lenders. Like I said, it's 48 units. You got the two buildings and the clubhouse, one bedroom units, 12, two bedroom, 24 units, and you got the three bedrooms of 12 units. You've got 12 units rented to those making 50% of the median income, and I'll explain that here in just a second. And then 36 of the units will be rented to those making 60% of the median. Basically, the way the tax credit program works is their rents are based on the area median income for the county. These are national median incomes posted on HUD's website. You've got a median income for Lexington County of $64,700, but if you go back to the 50% and the 60% standards, that's where basically the calculation is they don't expect, they take that income, no, they don't want anybody paying more than 30% of their income for rent, and then you back out the utilities. So this is how we come up with the rental rates. The 440, if you look at the chart over there to the right, it says maximum monthly gross rents. That is the gross rent, and then right here is the net rent, which where we've taken out the utility allowances, and that's where we come up with the net rents for each for each, the ones, twos, and threes. Basically, the way the program works, we submit an application to the state agency. We're competing against people all over the state, in multiple communities. You agree in your applications, there are certain threshold items that everybody has to put in their application. The brick, you've got certain cabinet types, you got all sorts of items that are required. Then you have scoring items, which in this instance, I think we're adding security cameras all around the property. Those are scoring items. So then once all the applications come in, they score the apps, and the highest apps win. In return for the credits, once you get the award, in return for the credits, you get a 10-year stream of tax credits. And syndicators, investors buy those credits. They buy that stream of credits. In return, we take that equity and plow that into the project. For instance, our Greenville project, I think TD Bank was the investor. So they buy the 10-year stream of credits, we use the equity, and then we go out and get conventional debt and finance the project. At this point, we've not selected obviously we haven't even gotten to the award or even gotten any approvals at this point, so we've not been chosen investor at this point. But that's typically how it works. In return for those credits, we agree to set those rents at that 50 and 60% median income. And we agree to do it for 15 years. So not only for the 15 years do we have to keep the rents low, but we're constantly monitored by the state agency. Not only the tenant files, but also the physical plant is constantly monitored 1 to 3 years, depending on how successful their audits are. Like I said, we use the conventional debt to finance the rest of the project. Some of the things from us as a developer, we're guaranteeing the tax credits for the 15 years. So not only are we guaranteeing the debt, construction loans, but we're also guaranteeing the credits, that there's a stream of credits for that 10 years and that we keep it compliant for 10 years. So there's some pretty significant risk for a developer owner that a lot of folks, I don't think, realize what maintaining a property for 15 years is it's a pretty significant risk, but we're invested in the community as well because we've got guarantees and risks, so we're going to be dialed in to making sure the project looks good and performs. Like I said, the projects are monitored by the state housing agencies. The syndicators and the lenders also have a huge investment in this project, so they're going to constantly monitor the project as well and keep eyes on it, make sure we're doing what we said we'd do. The other thing I think that I was going to mention is the mandatory design criteria. I'd said the 70% brick earlier. There are a couple other items that a lot of times go above and beyond what the local community requires. We have to have the Energy Star. It's totally Energy Star, appliances, lights, the whole 9 yards. Architectural shingles throughout, and in this instance, we're putting in an irrigation system as well. So those are just a few of the things that go above and beyond what the local community would ask for. One big hot button I know is always the tenant selection criteria that comes from the management. I know communities are constantly worried about making sure that the tenants that are leasing these properties are sufficiently vetted. And a couple of things that go on with our tenant selection criteria are criminal background checks, we do credit checks, we do income qualifications, both not only the maximum because we're out of compliance if we rent it to somebody making too much money, but we also have to have a minimum because people have to be able to pay their rent. We verify a job, you have to have a job. The tenants are only approved to move in. The management on site is not the one making the call on whether the tenant gets to move in. It goes back to the corporate office of the management company, and they verify the tenant file and get that approval. There's a 2-person bedroom limit. There's quarterly inspection of the units, and the project proposed here is, it's not a Section 8 property. There's no HAP contract on this property. These people will be working, paying their rent. There's no government subsidized rental payment associated with this project. I guess in closing, I would just say, you know, the property is zoned correctly. And I understand the comprehensive plan updated in 2011 concluded that the town lacks a diversity of housing, and that's kind of what drew us here. These units are working class folks. They're your service workers, some of your public employees here in town, and we'd like to give them a nice, decent, safe place to live, and that's our objective. So open up to questions, comments.
Do you have any names? Let's go ahead and get the sign-up sheets and people that do have their names, and we'll pass the sheet out and give you an opportunity to add your name. We'd like to acknowledge Senator Crum for his being here. We appreciate it very much.
If in 15 years, but the property has to be properly maintained, and whether that's sold to an investor or whether we continue it on. We're a nonprofit corporation, so it's part of our mission to maintain our properties. We hold some of them past the 15-year window.
Will it be subsidized after 15 years?
No, you know, our HUD is not doing a lot of, or any more of those Section 8 properties. Getting those Section 8 properties through a local HUD office is not possible anymore. That's not the plan to concentrate poverty in one setting. The idea is to try to spread it out. So they don't hand out any more HAP contracts. No.
Well, is it subsidized in the first year? The first 15 years?
There's no rental subsidies at all. These will be people paying their
Well, if
own.
you get a cheaper rent, it's subsidized in some manner.
Yes.
Well, I mean, tax credits are given out. I mean, you can almost look at your mortgage deduction as a tax credit. Because tax credits are given to us based on us keeping it affordable. In return for those tax credits, we go sell them to investors like TD Bank or SunTrust.
Well, that's still a subsidized then if you're getting tax credits.
Like I said, there are tons of tax credits out there. There's wind, solar credits that are out there that people go and sell to investors. So there's, like I said, your house mortgage interest deduction is kind of a tax credit.
Well, you know, I've been involved in the community for a long time, and I live just outside of the boundary and trying to, you know, protect our community and make sure our tax dollars are spent wisely. And the issue is, this looks very nice. And I've been to many county council meetings where the developer comes and presents a very nice project. But when we see it actually coming out of the ground in a few years later, it's not the same thing. But I'm a little bit concerned about some things that have been represented, and it seems like maybe you've been working behind the scenes and knew about this before a lot of other people, according to a letter that was posted in the Facebook.
First thing I knew about it was last Friday.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear you
I
haven't
received a
committed
call.
taps yet, but,
I received a call from Representative Huggins on Friday. There was a notice that was mailed to the town hall last week that was received on Monday, I guess a week ago, this past Monday. And I was on vacation, so I wasn't at town hall at all.
well, just the way your letter was written in the Facebook website, it looked like you had already been involved in this. You said your staff was working on it.
Once we learned about it on Friday from Representative Huggins, we had a very lengthy conversation. He and his staff emailed me some information. Our newsletter goes out, the mayor message goes out on Monday, so we spent a good bit of time evaluating it based on that timeline from Friday until Monday.
Well, and I also understand that council members attempted to have the agenda amended tonight to put a resolution on there to state what the town's position is and give it to state housing. And they really want to know how the town feels about this. And that you denied that. Is that correct?
No, ma'am, I didn't deny it. The request was made by Councilman Clance. We talked about it, and he understood at this point that we weren't going to do that.
Well, I think that it would.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
please.
yes,
I'm
it
sorry, I
would-
can't.
It would be important that this body make their position known on our behalf.
Yes.
Yes.
And I encourage you to pass a resolution and let us know how you feel about it.
The town's position, based on having some conversation, at least from my personal position, is that until we learn more about what's going on, as this thing evolves, it would be ill-advised for the town to start saying things and put itself in a jeopardy of any kind of liability or lawsuit. My experience from what I've talked to other people about this, is that the town potentially saying things could be in a liable situation if they don't know what they're saying. This is my first experience with this. I typically don't jump on something until I understand facts and know exactly what my position is. So, it may come to a point where we do establish this, but each council member can say something. They understand the liability they put the town in. They can say it on a personal basis anytime they want.
Well, there's a deadline on when you need to comment, and I believe it's the councilman.
The comment was to the State Housing Authority just to express our concerns, and I believe Senator Cromer is the 13th?
It's the 13th or 14th, I have it
Yeah.
We've
verified.
asked those to be in by the 11th, just so that we're on the safe side on that.
By
See
the
where
way,
it
I was wondering where Chip Huggins was. When I was driving in, my ears started burning about 5 minutes after 6. I knew he was talking about it. So, y'all can back me
Ms.
up.
Murphy, I appreciate it.
What I want to say is that, this might be a very nice project, but the real issue is, do we have the infrastructure? Is it going to negatively affect traffic? You've said that we're over capacity on our sewer, we've had to hire an engineer, and we got to build a new wastewater treatment facility. Lexington County made a presentation a couple months ago. They said there's a shortage of EMTs. We need to evaluate this, and you need to take a position.
We will evaluate.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comment. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Brooks?
Back to structure, we already have problems with sewer, we've got problems with, what we're gonna expand the police department just to compensate for one construction project. Sidewalks, we don't have sidewalks, the road structure can't handle it, but the thing that really disturbs me about it is we've got some out-of-state developer that sat down with a census report.
Yes.
And went to a research firm and decided where they were gonna go get, that's the thing. It's not Section 8 housing because the renters are not subsidized. But don't make a mistake, it's subsidized, the developer's subsidized. It's subsidized on the back end instead of on the front end. It's still subsidized housing is all it is. And that, if there's a demand for that, so be it. But shouldn't it be somebody local that has an interest in our community, that uses a local construction company? That's gonna be invested, yeah, they're gonna be invested into this one property. But if everything else goes crap around it and all of our property values change because of it, that's no skin off their back. You know why? Because they're subsidized with my money, and your money, and your money, and your money. Good people participate in the community. Good people contribute to the community. Good businesses become a part of the community and make the community better. They don't sit back with some research paper and decide what part of the southeast they're gonna go get involved in. That's just people looking to make a quick buck off of your tax dollars and my tax dollars and
Ever hear a response on that?
Will you hear your response on that?
Yeah, we're gonna pay tap fees, impact fees, whatever, Chapin has, we'll pay real estate taxes as well, so.
You're gonna pay the money you already got from me from federal tax credits. I mean, if you don't, I think we don't understand the difference between a tax exemption and a tax credit. When I don't pay tax on my mortgage interest, that's an exemption, that's not a credit. That's two different things. You're getting tax credits, you're getting subsidized on the back end so you can provide lower, whatever it is. You've got a business model built around feeding off of government grants. It's my money.
Vicki?
Yes, this isn't a question, but I have a petition to oppose this low income, I'll be at the end of this meeting, so I don't disturb anybody. I'll be right at that door, and y'all can sign it if you haven't signed it. Thank you.
I'm Sandra Payne. I've lived in Chapin since 1986. And you said that your study shows that we have, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of laryngitis. You said your study shows that we have a significant need in our area for this type of housing. By that statement, can we assume that applications received from outside our area will not be considered?
Well, I think the market area goes, if I remember correctly, I looked at this market area, that in one direction, the market area from the analyst was 4 miles, so a 4-mile radius. Another area went a 5-mile radius. Now there was, I think it goes down to the lake as well, and past the lake slightly from the market radius.
So they have to currently live within that area in order for the application to be?
That's how the demand was calculated. I mean, typically, most of these, we're not gonna be bringing.
That's not my question. My question is, applications are going to be considered if they come from California, correct?
Yeah, if they're
The
relocating, I
significant
guess
need is
you
in
could-
our area.
If they were relocating here in Chapin,
That satisfied your question, ma'am?
I have a question
Okay.
about what you were talking about.
I'm not sure who's speaking.
Me.
Okay, thank you. Your name?
I'm confused on what you're saying that we need this, based on actual people in the community that need housing like this, or the fact that we don't have housing like this.
what is your name again?
Amy Farmer?
The demand calculations in the study showed that it was needed.
But based
To
on
my
the fact that we
knowledge,
don't have any?
You don't have, if I remember correctly, there's no tax credit housing in
So we
in
don't
Chapin.
necessarily have people in the community that need this housing. We just don't actually have this kind of housing.
There's no tax credit.
So there's not people in the community that need this housing, is what you're saying?
I'm saying the demand calculations show there is a need for this housing.
But based on
You
the
may have
fact that,
people living in Chapin that are driving outside of that, working as service workers here that may be driving out of, 20 miles.
We're driving to Columbia, we live up here.
Okay, we're going down this side. Raise your hand, who has the next question on this side? Okay, yes ma'am, please stand up, state your name.
Name's Rebecca Condon, 1717 Amexferry Road.
Thank you, ma'am.
I had a question off of your PowerPoint here. The application said a median, is that the median of the entire household that will be living there, or the one person applying for it?
Let me go back to that slide. It does it for 1, 2s, 3s, and 4 person families.
And just a follow-up, we're talking about business and people from Chapin driving 20 miles. Our big business owners here in town, GIS and a couple others, I know several people there, and I've asked this question several times. The majority of those people that work there do not live in Chapin. So actually, we have more people coming out of town driving to Chapin to work than we have people in Chapin working in Chapin. And I don't know how many of y'all have seen the Mungo developments past the high school, between high school and the interstate, but if you think this is development coming to Chapin, you haven't seen anything yet.
Anybody else on this side?
Could I ask another question? You want to go around?
Yeah, I want to give everybody else an opportunity first. Yes, sir.
My name is Reese Overcash. One thing I didn't see in your PowerPoint presentation is a slide concerning with your company's track record. You said you've been in business for about 20 years, so that means you've had some of these tax credit situations expire, and I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't see a PowerPoint presentation talking about your successes and how the developments that you've done back 17 years ago, how they're still an effective and vibrant apartment complex. So I would like to see more of that information from you in the future.
Okay, I'll be happy to circulate all the projects we've done. So I'll be happy to give that here and.
So I'm saying you will present a track record.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's another hand.
Yes, sir, in the back.
Hey, this is Turkey Point. Mayor, I'm a transplant to this town, and one of the reasons that attracted me is because there isn't this type of housing here. And I only ask you and your board and everybody who's involved to seriously think about this, because once you let this in, like you gentlemen said, anything can happen in Chapin. And this, you know, like I said, this town attracted me here. I could have picked a whole bunch of other places, but it's really, I love it here, and I hate to see it go downhill. Please look out for us.
May I ask a question, since we're down the middle for a second? In your last slide, you indicated in the closing, would you go to that page? Everybody can see it? Second item says comprehensive plan updated in 2011 concluded that the town lacks the diversity of housing. Our zoning administrator, does the term literally say lacks the diversity, or does it say seeks a diversity?
I think that was one of the conclusions, was that there was a lack of diversity.
Conclusion from the comprehensive plan?
Yes, that wasn't necessarily one of the objectives, didn't say that, but I believe that was a conclusion from the study that we did.
And I think the point here is that we're not seeking that in that comprehensive plan. So I'm curious if that's your interpretation or the perception of how that's written.
I read the letter that was put in the application, and I think I've got a copy of it, but I did say lack of diversity of housing. So that was my interpretation.
Next on this side, we'll start in the back. Very hand by Mr. Steele. There you go. Mr. Duke.
A very simple substantive question. I can't hear real well back here, and you're talking faster than I can listen. But you talked about the number of people. You have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And a 1 bedroom apartment can have how many people? Or is there a limit?
Well,
You did something about 10 people per bedroom.
no, you can't. I said 2 people per bedroom would be the max.
2 people per bedroom is the max.
Yeah.
So in a 3 bedroom, that'd be a total of 6 people.
In our, you're usually not going to have 6 people because you run into like 6 adults because you're going to run into income. You may have, you know, a couple
You can visualize.
with 4 kids.
Who keeps it from being 6 adults?
The management company.
And there's a rule against that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Van Cook, I own a commercial property in town. I guess, looking at our downtown, we're doing a lot of things to improve it over the last few years, and a lot of the old stuff is going away, some of the stuff we miss it went away. But I guess, why is this in the center of town? Why are we basically in an area that we're trying to revive? And I'm not saying it's a bad-looking project on paper, but is this something we want to plop right down in the middle of town at this point in time?
Drives some of the decision making. Obviously, the market study is one of the things we look at, but being close to amenities is a point driver in the allocation process. So you need to, they want you to be close to all the amenities, and obviously that site is close to all the amenities, and that's, you know, part of what drove us to that site.
Yeah, it's the same question, I'm not gonna ask twice. But again, isn't that related because most of those people may not have transportation? And I realize people have needs, but again, you're looking at low income, you're looking at people probably without transportation, so therefore you're putting them close to the amenities of school and all of that. I just think it's a large population of people to drop in a very, very small town such as this, and I don't see where it's an advantage for our town.
Next, please. Gentlemen on the
I'm Charles Nolan. I live on Eunice Court. My family's been in Chapin as long as I can remember. My question to the developer is, if Chapin is so attractive and there's such a need based on your market study, why do you need to do a tax credit deal? Why don't you let the free enterprise or the market take care of it?
couple of comments. We're a nonprofit, so affordable housing is part of our mission anyway, so we can't go out and do market rate housing, that's just not what we do. The other thing I would, particularly with that site, obviously you can't do more than 48 units, and trying to do a market rate deal with 48 units, the efficiency's not there from a financing standpoint, so that would be my comment. But first of all, we're a nonprofit, affordable is what we do. So.
But you do have other nonprofit corporations, don't you?
Yeah, we
I mean, not nonprofit, for-profit corporations.
we do not have we're a true nonprofit. Now all these tax credits,
All right, it's tough for him to answer everybody's question, so, please.
So what's the question?
Do you have for-profit entities under your corporate umbrella or separate that you do apartment complex?
Each of these tax credit deals are set up like a limited partnership. So they are a for-profit limited partnership because you have an investor buying the credits. And like I said, it may be TD Bank, and they're admitted in as a limited partner. We're the general partner, and we can, I think on this deal, I can't remember if it's this deal or the other one, we're competing under the nonprofit pool. The state sets aside a number of credits for the nonprofits. But these are all set up as for-profit partnerships, but us as a nonprofit, it's affordable housing, so that's part of our mission. That's why
I understand that, but I'm saying, my question is, do you have for-profit apartment complex entities at all throughout any?
No.
No. No.
Right here?
Yes, ma'am?
Jennifer Long Warlick, I live at 129 Fairhaven Way. My family's been here since '79. I worked 2 jobs as a single mom of a daughter that I put through college to live in Chapin for a reason, okay? I grew up off Broad River Road. It embarrasses me now to go down there, okay? It embarrasses me to ride by Harbison. Have you ridden through some of their income subsidy apartment complexes? I don't want those people living in Chapin. I drive 20 miles, I drive round trip almost 60 miles to go to work. My family moved up here for a reason, and it's not to have income-driven housing like that. What's going to be your credit? What's going to be the credit that people are going to have to live in there? Do you know that?
I don't know the exact.
Okay, is it going to be over 800? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Okay? We don't want this. I'm sorry. You can pick another place or go closer to Harbison. But this is not what Chapin needs.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right here. Who owns the property?
Can you stand up, please, and state your name?
Linda Gulledge. I live out Amesbury Road. Who currently owns the property?
Ray Carter.
Excuse me?
Ray Carter.
And is he a Chapin resident?
Used to be.
Were you approached by him, or did you come here first? You zeroed in on Chapin, or somebody approached you?
We utilize a broker to try to find the property and approached him through a broker.
All of his kids went to Chapin High School.
My name is Dawn Narella, and I live in Turkey Point here in Chapin, which is basically right behind the Bilo and the Food Lion. So I am very concerned, maybe selfishly, for my investment in this community and the value of my property and how it's going to be affected by this development. I'm very concerned about that. I don't want to see my home diminish in value because we're plopping this down in the middle of Chapin. And as pretty as it might look on paper, I really don't think that that's what's best or will look best even in our small town, putting a high-rise in the middle of Chapin. And no matter how you slice it, 2 stories, it's still not going to look right. It's still not going to look like it belongs, and I think it's going to negatively impact a lot of us here.
My name is Erin Kaywood, and I noticed that in the other places that you picked for South Carolina, you picked major cities. You picked Myrtle Beach, you picked Greenville, Chapin is not a major city. We cannot job these people. We cannot bus these people. We cannot feed your children. We cannot absorb these children already into our overflowing schools. When our children are in portables and we have a brand new school buildings that have been built like every 5 years for the last 15 years, between Valentine, Chapin, Lake Murray, everyone is expanding. We are expanding. We don't need the extra. So please don't.
Let's go back to the very back. Yes, ma'am.
Judy Reed, my question is, do these units play, or do you pay property taxes in Lexington County and in Chapin?
Yes.
The same amount that any other commercial will pay?
Whatever the assessment from the assessor comes with, we're obligated to pay.
My name's Bishop Young. I've been here for, I'm 47, but I've been here for 43 years. My dad built a 3-story A-frame house with his blood, sweat, and tears out on Deer Island Road, and he did that for a reason. He hated Irmo, he hated Harbison, he hated Piney Woods Road, but we had a good mayor. We had a good board up here, and they told him, we will protect you, and we will keep your debts down, your kids will go to good schools, and you won't have this come into your neighborhoods. You'll never see that. And we never did. And my dad died 5 years ago, so he never saw that. So, Mayor, I charge you to never bring this into Chapin, because, as every person here has said, we do not have enough room. These children, we're putting in 15, 20 portables. Come on, look at the high school. Gosh, it's overrun. It's just, we're a AAA high school. We should be a 4A high school. Look at what we can do. I mean, look at all these elementary schools and stuff. Look at the progress. And I don't care if you guys don't like the mayor. I'm going to tell you right now, look at the progress that you've done since you've come into office. You have made progress, and I will give you that. Sometimes you've been whacked around a little bit too much. But you know what? You stand fast and you keep going, and I read your stuff every Thursday in the Chapin Times, and I laugh at you, you know. But you know what? I think you lead Chapin as a godly man, first of all. And that's what we need. Second of all, you lead Chapin as a leader, and you're a good business leader. But sometimes, and I hate to say this, Mayor, you get off track a little bit, because these other people get in your ears and they start hollering in your ears. But let me tell you, a long time ago, there's a lady that was sitting over there, and I can't remember her name, but she argued with you about the whole board, about some kind of creek or something. And I watched this and I watched this, and she just argued and argued. But you know what? I think she was right. And I think she was right. And I think she was right. Next thing I know, if I'm not right, they're turning that decision over in the state Supreme Court, aren't they? On your side. You're winning now. Isn't that right?
Let's stick to the issues here.
But that is the issue.
I appreciate that.
That is the issue. You take control of this meeting, and I say, end it now. and let's go home. You don't need to be here.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. You want to stand up, please?
I'm Wendy Sabota, and I'm probably repeating like this one lady said. We all have moved and transitioned from St. Andrews to Irmo to out here. A lot of people do that commute because of what has happened in those areas. The homes that I lived over there, it's a crying shame. We don't want that in Chapin, and it's written right here that at best, this has a destabilizing effect to bring this to our town. And at worst, it can drive middle-class residents out and turn the entire area into a slum. That's not my words. That's by big developers. They're tearing these down in Chicago and everywhere because they don't work. I drove a school bus for 2 years to those apartments on Columbiana Drive. No, I don't want that here. I can vouch for you. When you have fourth graders cutting your seat, wanting to shoot you with a BB gun and stuff, really, I don't think we want that here. And that's what it brings.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, excuse me, I promised you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Marie Keaton, and I just want to clear up a little bit about the timeline. I own Aquarius Spa and Salon, which will sit 35 feet in front of this development. And I've been in business for almost 11 years in that location. We are in a National Historic Registry home in a beautiful historic setting. And just to give you a timeline, the orange flags and site sign went up on my property with no notification by the 26th of March. So that's when I called the owner and said, what's going on? And he said, they're talking about building an apartment complex there. I've sold the property, or I'm selling the property to someone who's going to build an apartment complex. I said, is this going to be low-income housing? He said, I don't think so. There's no way they would put that in Chapin. But I don't know. So obviously he knew. And I don't think that anyone would disagree with me to say that because of this coming into our town, we will all then pay more to help support the system around it that has to be there, whether it's the water, the sewer, the EMS, fire, police, all of those things. We will all pay out of pocket a little more. And yes, we're all very blessed with what we have in the community we live in and the lifestyle we lead, but we work hard for that. Amen. We work hard to live in Chapin. My husband and I don't come from money. We worked hard to live in Chapin. We went to school and got the degrees and worked our butts off to live here. And we've all also been very hardly hit the last 8 years that our federal government has decided to tax us more and more and more and more, and our economy went down the tubes for a long time there. We were late to recover from it. My business is still recovering from 2008, 2009, because Chapin was late to start in the recovery, and we're still in it. We cannot afford this. Our town cannot afford this. I know my business cannot afford this, because I can't afford to move my business when this happens.
Thank you.
Kevin Shepard, I'm the pastor of the Mount Zion Baptist Church on Broomstraw Road. We own the property next to where this proposed development is going to be. My question is not really for the developer, but it's to all of us, and really it's more of a comment to all of us here in the room. The questions that I have is, I've read the comments. I didn't hear about this until I got back from vacation on Saturday evening. And the comments that I've seen, and I'm quite sure most of the negative comments, those people aren't in this room. I hope anyway. But I saw all the code words, Section 8, affordable housing. You know, we got to protect our families and protect our town and all of these kind of things. I'm a product of Section 8 housing. But that's, according to the developer, that's not what's going to come here. But my question is, if we are opposed to this, I don't have a side either way right now because I don't have enough information. And if this stuff just came out on Friday, I don't think any of us have enough information. We're acting off of emotion. And my question is, are we upset with the developer being an out-of-state developer that's not invested in the community? Or are we upset with tenant selection and who's gonna be there. If this was a different type of, if this was senior housing being put in the same place by a local contractor, would we be as upset?
Yes.
You know, and again, I'm not saying we would, I'm asking the question for all of us to think about. We have to be very careful because of the day job that I do, not as a pastor, but as an EOC investigator. We have to be very careful that we do not discriminate, regardless of where they're coming from, why we moved here. Like I said, I grew up in Newberry, moved to Columbia off Broad River Road, just like I heard everybody else say. Had a house built here because I wanted my sons to go to school here in Chapin. We've been here for the last 9 years. You know, same thing, but my question is, we have to be very careful that what we're saying we don't want. A lot of what I'm hearing is not because of transportation. It's not because of space. It's because of those people. We don't want those people. And yes, we work hard for what we have to come to Chapin. But some of those people work hard too and are still stuck where they are. And they are looking for the same opportunity that we had through other means. So all I'm saying is be very careful about how we approach this thing. And just, there's nothing wrong with saying we don't want it, we can't support it. If that's true, I have no problem with that. If we say we're gonna bring it in, then we ought to charge and hold our council, hold the developers responsible for making sure 20 years from now, when we come back to visit our children, or our children come back to visit us, that they're not telling our grandchildren how the neighborhood used to be. But they can come back and see the same things that we grew up with and what we lived in. All I'm saying is, let's not make this some underlying thing. Say what you mean instead of using, roundabout excuses. If you have a legitimate concern, express that concern. But don't hide behind, transportation and all, because if we went down Amos Ferry Road a few miles and decided to build a new housing development, those same cars have got to come back out of Amos Ferry Road. They got those same, and we're talking about 200 people. My church has 200 people. I could put all of my church in that same spot. My church has 200 members. And so we have let's just be careful. I have no problem with people objecting to this. With the information I have right now, I would object to it too. But I don't have all the information, and I don't think any of us do.
Appreciate that.
My name is Carol Lucas, and I want to say that I'm not hiding behind any Section 8 or anything like that. I don't mind if somebody's working hard and trying to do what they need to do to get where they need to be. I'm worried about crime. I'm worried about my safety.
Exactly.
Just sitting here, I pulled up about Carolina Oaks, and recently the police were called out there because there was somebody trying to stab somebody else with a butcher knife. You say that you've got, that you run background check and credit check. You couldn't tell us what the credit score is. Can you tell us what the criteria is for the criminal background checks?
You can't allow any felonies or any kind of criminals.
Can't hear you.
And you can't allow any criminals to come. Any criminals. And another thing I'd say about Carolina Oaks, it's not even open yet, so I'm not sure where the stabbing information came from.
It's on Myrtle Beach Online, if you want to Google it.
Yeah, it's not. We don't even have a tenant in there. We ain't even opened it yet.
Well, see, look at there, yeah.
We'll start down this road, line down here again. If there are any questions on this side.
There's one right here.
Oh, I'll get to them. Okay, starting from the back there, I saw some hands maybe I didn't get to before. Yes, sir. I got you, Mr. Duke.
No, I just want a procedural question. Is it possible to get these on the website?
I've been here since 2000. I have one question. When you build an infrastructure like this here, the first thing you need to do is look at the overall infrastructure of transportation needs, your sewer and water. We also talk about transportation for people getting back and forth to work. We're also talking about your school districts. You're talking about Department of Transportation with the roads, the grounds, who's going to be able to increase the size of these areas. I haven't heard you communicate that to the people here, that in all the studies that your companies have done, or all these different people that you have partnered with have really delved down into talking about, well, are you gonna bring some of those tax credits with you to develop your roads? Have you talked to the Department of Transportation? Have you talked to the town of Chapin? Can we even build an additional structure like this here at this time? Because we already got challenges with the Chapin sewer. What about the school district? We're already talking about, people are already concerned with all the portables. And you're bringing another infrastructure this side, which, believe it or not, you know, are gonna be people that want to come here for the same reason everybody else is. We're in the best school district in the state. I tell everybody that I live in Mayberry, RFD. And I brought here because of that, because of this lifestyle. And I don't think anybody in here wants to be negative. I think you have a great product. My concern is, are you inside of an area that you really are not prepared to undertake because the infrastructure is not here? And the people here really need to look at this and say, if the infrastructure is not here, you need to look elsewhere to be able to look at putting your product out there to another area.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. In the back, again, raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Yes, ma'am.
On your sketch of the...
Your name?
Oh, Valerie Wick, I'm the member of Shores Circle. On your sketch, you had the proposed construction. You showed it was real nice looking elevation, 2 stories. I'm just wondering how you're gonna, is it a 2-story unit that's planned here? You said that there's 24 unit buildings, plus a clubhouse, plus a playground on 4 acres? I don't see how you can do that with 2 stories.
We had the engineer lay it out. It's, I think it's you've got.
Plus the retention stuff.
That's correct.
You are the contact person for the Gates Park Crossing Apartments in Atlanta, Georgia, which your company, your establishment is part of.
Yeah, we're the general partner. Yes.
Correct. They have a 1-star rating out of 5. I read some comments on them today. It is not good. How can you assure us that that will not take place in Chapin?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure everybody, if you got a business out there, people are commenting if they're unsatisfied, so that's where some of that drives. But
that you have done these projects in similar small towns. I agree that discussing downtown Greenville, Myrtle Beach, and inner city Atlanta are apples and oranges to what we have in this bedroom community, built with single-family dwellings, handful of duplexes, but for the most part, single-family dwellings. What small towns that are similar to Chapin's makeup, location from a major city, universities, hospital systems, what other towns have you done this in, that maybe we could research what the impact was on that small town with no apartments prior to you?
I don't know that we've gone into a community with no apartments, 0 apartments at all.
I think that I can speak for a lot of people here, that our biggest issue is not about how much money somebody makes that lives in these apartments. I don't want apartments in my town. That's why we moved here. So whether you have fair market value or reduced, we don't want apartments here.
We're drowning in traffic.
Melissa Holbeck, I'd just like for you to clarify a little bit about the ownership of the property. You had said previously that Resource Housing Group is a non-for-profit, but you would actually be affiliated and a general partner in a limited partnership with the bank. Are there other individual partnerships in that limited partnership, and are they the ones that tend to profit from this venture?
We've got 2 1% partners in that partnership, but they've only got 1%. We're the controlling member of that partnership. So 1% obviously doesn't equate to much upside for them. For various reasons, they were put in that partnership, but they're only got 1% of that GP interest. We would control 98% of that GP interest.
And so it will be housed in a for-profit entity, essentially, not a not-for-profit entity.
Well, a nonprofit can't have any investors owning the nonprofit. So basically, you'll have a limited partnership, and since you want to go syndicate those credits and sell them to an investor, if you want to admit an investor into that partnership, it has to be a for-profit entity.
Regarding, don't have my glasses on, the Gates Park Crossing in Atlanta, I pulled up the website. It says Gates Park Crossing Apartments are developed and operates with federal housing financing. This property uses the low-income housing tax credit federal housing program to make rent affordable to lower-income tenants. On the bottom, it says, go on down lower. Let me get my computer. It says down here that they are required to pay, but if they need to get Section 8 funding, they can. This is on the website. I can forward this to anybody. This is what concerns us. You say this, but this is on this website. If they cannot, and that was my question to you, if they can't afford it and lose their job, do you kick them out? Or do you accept government subsidies for Section 8? Because it's on here that you do.
You should ask that question.
My mayor's financed with 40-year financing from HUD, which HUD finances market rate properties all over the country. So that's how it was done with tax credits and HUD finance. That property in inner city Atlanta, the City of Atlanta Housing Authority has their own allocation of vouchers, which they can allocate to projects, which is what that property is, but it's in inner city Atlanta. It's a rehab of a 1960s property, and yeah, it does have Section 8 vouchers, but that's how the property was set up. It's in inner city Atlanta, and we probably did a $50,000 unit rehab,
Yes.
so it's been a success.
Right.